go, no, wait a second, let's get some data and let's find out if it's an attribution issue or if there really is something that we need to train on and deal with. Different types of training. I'm sure you've seen this before. Once we have this gap analysis laid out, like here's where we are, here's where we want to be, we go, okay, what are the main things we need to see? Is this a skill issue? Do we have people that are not skilled in operating this new piece of technology? Is this a knowledge issue? People don't know, my head goes to a Boeing with a lot of examples, but people don't know now how to interact with the Federal Aviation Administration with this certification of an aircraft. Do they need training in knowing how to do their job? Is it an attitude issue? Are we treating suppliers so poorly in our contract process they're actually leaving and taking better deals to our competitors? Stuff like that. So it can be each one of those. Each can be trained on. Of course, when we think of the standard idea of training, usually it's skill and behavior. But of course, now in a human capital economy, we deal with all three of them, and we deal with them often. So once we've decided what needs to be trained, we've seen the gap analysis, then we have to ask some questions about who is going to get trained. Like, do they have the ability to be trained? And this is not a popular concept, but I've used this example before. Like if I was really desiring to replace Bobby Wagner to be the linebacker of the Seattle Seahawks, you can't give me enough training to make that happen. It's not necessarily a knowledge issue, although it might be. It's certainly a muscle twitch issue. It's a size and strength issue. It's a probably weak bone structure issue compared to him. So we go, no, he can't. No matter how much training we give Avey, he's not going to be an NFL football player. He's bounded by a lot of things, including ability. So, and this isn't meant to slam your employees, say, oh, well, they're too dumb to learn that. It's meant to take a realistic assessment and go, are our expectations conducive to the human capital that we've hired and the people that kind of we're paying to be here? So if I want to train everybody in global competence and this global mindset so they can go out and be multinational leaders, and I've attracted those people to my company paying $13 an hour, I need to realistically take a look at what is the ability to learn that with my team. Another one is motivation. Do people care? Like, is this really, really important to you, but nobody else? So it's important to you as an executive or manager to go, we need to learn this, we need to do better, and they just go, whatever, man, I clock in, clock out, I get paid, whether I learn that or not. There's no care. So there's things we can do to motivate, that is showing consistent with the strategy, offering incentive pay, maybe stuff like that, but having paid training time, of course. But are they motivated? If not, we're managers, we should be pretty good at motivating people, right? We know we have those tools in our toolbox. So anyway, the next one is self-efficacy. This one is particularly potent when someone is doing something new. So there's generalized self-efficacy and task-specific self-efficacy. So I think I am pretty good at shooting a lay-in basketball. I don't have high generalized self-efficacy like I'm, high task efficacy, meaning I'm a good basketball player. I mean, I can shoot a lane, so it's very specific. There are some people, they just believe that they're going to be pretty good at pretty much everything they do. That's generalized self-efficacy. So if your employees who you're training don't believe, they don't have confidence that they will be able to succeed in the task, they're not going to do it. It's pretty straightforward. It's like the last 30 years of, Tony Robbins and consulting and books, and I call them airport books, and they all drive me crazy, but they're this concept of the power of positive thinking, and everybody goes, oh my gosh, like we're so sick of this, and go, well, actually, there's a really important scientifically backed up component to it. It comes from social learning theory, a guy named Albert Bandura, and self-efficacy is the second highest predictor of performance that we've seen in the last 30 years. It has a 0.38 correlation meta-analytically with performance. So it matters if people think they're going to be good at something. If they think they can do it, then they generally will. Well, when we're training somebody on something new, and there you can see like the insecurity, the lack of confidence, like, I don't think I can do this. Stop, hold the phone. Don't just march through the training program. There's 4 ways to develop self-efficacy. And you're going to have to build confidence in them if you're going to get the full ROI of the training expenditures that you're doing. Perceived utility and value. Again, do they care about it? Is it useful to their job? That's up to you as a manager to show them it is. And the last one, learning styles. There are different learning styles. I know we get this. There's actually recent science that says this is abused, might be the right word, or it's over considered, meaning, oh, I'm a visual learner. That's how I learn. I can't learn auditory. Well, yeah, you can. You just may not learn as well. So there might be dominance in each one of these areas, but generally people can learn unless there's some kind of a disability. Generally, on average, people can learn across all of these. Auditory learner is you hear it, you get it. If that's you, you're pretty rare. If you can listen to me talk PowerPoint slides, and you're like, oh yeah, totally, I'm all in. That's rare. That's cool. Tactile learner is more common. That is, tactile learner will usually see it, the visual piece, and then do it. Like, I have to touch this product. If you're going to teach me how to weld, I can't watch a video. Like, put the welding machine in my hand, right? Give me the arc on the vice grip thing. I don't even know what those things are called. Anyway, that's a tactile learner. And then visual learners. This is, again, this is modeling, meaning I need to see somebody do this. And if you're trying to enhance my self-efficacy that I can slam dunk a basketball, don't give the basketball to LeBron James and say, well, he did it, James, you can do it. It's very different. You need to give it to a short, pudgy, balding guy like me and have him dunk it. And I'll be like, oh, okay, well, that guy that's modeling it looks more like me, and that's more likely to enhance my self-efficacy to say, yeah, maybe I can do that. Anyway, different learning styles. Usually the cheapest way for us to deliver training is for auditory learners. That's not most people. So depending on how important your training is that you're giving, what you don't want to do is say, well, I told you, like I gave you a book, so you're responsible for it. No, if you really want them to learn it, you're going to design your training to hit each of these different learning styles. A few more components in the design and development phase of the ADDIE model. Overlearning, that is, even when you have it. I'm coaching a 4th grade basketball team right now, right? Yes, I know you know how to make a lay-in, sort of. Everyone's going to make at least 10 lay-ins before we start practice. So it's overlearning to where you get it, it's built in, you're establishing basically a neural pathway. The next one is behavioral modeling. And that's what we talked about earlier with the visual learners. Like, if you can see somebody do it and do it correctly, you're more likely to get it. So if we're gonna put some of these together, it's like I will tell you how to weld these two pieces of metal together. I'll explain it, and then I will model it to where you see someone do it, and then I'll put it in your hand to where you do it. And that way they've heard it, they've seen it, and then they've done it, and then rinse and repeat. And you keep rolling until you get a low error rate or a 0 error rate. Error-based examples. This is the fear-based training. This is when you're trying to teach someone to safely drive a forklift, and so you show them the results of a couple accidents where people have been injured and stuff like that. To go, if we don't do this right, if we don't get this, here's what happens. All right. Reinforcement theory, you probably got this in your Psych 101 class and a little bit on the motivation topic that we covered earlier. That's pretty straightforward. That is, when somebody does the right thing, you reinforce it, and you reinforce it quickly. And when they do the wrong thing, you can choose. Are you going to do punishment, which actually breeds resistance, so use that as little as possible, but extinction is kind of the right way to do it. So imagine a kid shooting lay-ins and go, no, elbows in, no, bend your knees, elbows in, bend your knees, elbows, yes, like that right there, like that right there. So as soon as they get it right, you're trying to establish that neural pathway, in this case of basketball form, go, right that, just like that, do that again. So that would be like a positive reinforcement. Transfer of training. This is the unicorn, right? This is what we're looking for. They get it in the classroom. They get it as close to the job as possible. It mirrors job context as much as possible. And then they took what they learned, and there's always loss. I learned these 10 things, but when I got on my job, when the situation was hot, it was happening, I only did 6 of them, okay? Well, there was some transfer of training. If there's no transfer of training, then we wasted our time. We designed the training poorly. We've lost all that money. We've lost all that time and probably credibility. So what we really want here is whatever we train them on, that knowledge or skill or attitude actually transfers over to the job, and as much as we can assess that, measure that, then that's optimal. There's internal training. There is also external training, outsourced training. This is when, if you don't have the expertise in-house, or if you don't have the budget or time in-house, or it's something broad. If it's something really specific to your company, then you probably want to own it. But if it's something broad, hey, everybody knows, everybody needs to be 40-hour OSHA trained who works with these chemicals right here. Okay, you can outsource that. You don't have to do it in-house. This is the example that's in my head, of course, every day is educational assistance programs, where companies would say, okay, Central has this HR graduate program. We have people who are moving into HR, so we're going to send them there to pay for it. Well, that's outsourcing your training. You're developing HR competencies in your management team, but you're not doing it yourself. Again, internal, external training. And then at the end we go, did it work? Did it actually work? There are 4 levels of training evaluation. They are right here. They are going from least valid or least useful to most useful. So let's say I'm trying to train, again, I'll stick with the same example because it's simple. My 4th grade basketball team had to make lay-ins. And at the end of practice, I say, did you guys have a good time as we practice lay-ins today? That's their reaction. Questionnaire, like, what did you think about it? Would you recommend this to your other 4th grade friends? You know, stuff like that. And then the learning is, explain to me what we talked about, right? Explain to me about the rule on traveling, or using the backboard, or shooting form, something like that. The next level of evaluation is I say, okay, now go do it. Now I'm going to record you, and we're going to see from the beginning of this training to after this training, are your behaviors any different, right? That is, not just can you explain to me the words that I told you, but are you doing things different? That's where we get transfer from cognition to behavior. And then finally, in a game, we're going to throw up a bunch of lands, and we're going to get it on video and go, did our shooting percentage increase? Did they make the lay-ins in the way that we talked about? And ultimately, did it help them, in this case, simple example, I keep continuing, did it get them more points? See, I didn't train them this lay-in so they would have a good time, or they'd even be able to describe what a lay-in is, or even do it with no pressure in practice. The idea was, in a game context, what we just worked on, are you now doing it different? That's the ultimate test, is the results. This happens often when we do business training, even managerial training, leadership training, diversity, etc. It's, did you have a good time? Maybe a little test that says, did you learn this? And then there's hardly ever behavioral assessment, and almost never, okay, well, we just had 40 salespeople take a training. Let's compare what they did last year to what they did after the training. Or even better, let's have a control group. Let's take those 20 people who are going to get training and let's separate them. Let's give 20 salespeople the training first, let a couple months go by, and see if they sell more as a result of the training. If they don't sell more, then maybe we make it voluntary because maybe it didn't work. Or if they sell more, then we add this next 20 and we see, can we replicate those results? These 20 get the training, they sell more. Okay, let's see if it can happen again. These 20 get the training, they sell more. Hey, sweet. Now we have return on investment, and we have a result-based outcome that says we didn't waste our time in training. If we do the evaluation correctly, I've had this conversation so many times with managers, this training will produce X. And they go, well, I mean, that's like in theory it should. I go, no, not in theory. Like, here's the data. If you can set up, especially if you can have random assignment, it's not that hard. People think there's no way to get a pure evaluation. Yes, there is. You take a group of people, you randomly assign them to 2 different groups. That establishes what's called initial equivalence, meaning it's not like the good group and the bad group, or the dumb group and the smart group. Random assignment is you're going to get, on average, this group will be about the same as this group. And then you give one of them the training. You give them all a pre-test. You give one of the groups the training, another test, then you give the last group the training. The only difference is you're doing the training twice. It's not going to kill your budget because you've already designed the training, and you'll actually have hard evidence to say, you know what, we're never doing that training again. We wasted our time. Or, that was freaking awesome. We developed that in-house. Not only are we going to use it here, we're going to package that and sell that training to our customers because this data is pretty amazing. We've done that a few times. So, all in all, that is a short and sweet training and development.